Welcome back, everybody, to Crime and Plastic. How are you, Dr. Miami and San Rizal?
I'm well.
I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Oh, well, now that you've said that, I'm actually fantastically fantastic.
You're more fantastic.
Yeah. Whatever it is, just know I'm better.
With those arms, I can't argue.
Yay.
Look at those arms.
Yeah, they look...
They haven't even worked out a day in their life.
I worked out your arms.
You still keep standing me up for our workouts.
Oh.
It's very sad.
She doesn't need to work out anymore.
No, I'm working out. I'm not.
Skinny, too. I still work out.
Yeah. Actually, Rosie's way skinnier than me.
No, I'm not way skinnier than you. But I'm
Right.
saying I work out for the... Keep
Toning,
the muscles.
to be
Yeah.
strong.
No, I should.
Yeah, I should probably hit the gym again. So it's been a week.
It's
and,
been a week. And so what's going on in
I have some news.
Okay.
It's actually kind of juicy.
Juicy news.
It's not the plastic surgeon himself
Okay.
that is in trouble.
Boo.
It is his wife.
Boo.
What'd she do?
So I remember reading about this when it happened a couple of years ago, I think.
Okay.
Whenever it happened. Yeah, September 2020.
Okay.
So there's an LA plastic surgeon that has a burn center, famous burn center. I think his dad started it even.
Okay.
And, you know, he's a socialite, him and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, she was having an affair with an ex-Dodgers pitcher
Good
Okay.
for her.
named Scott Erickson. So this is Dr. Grossman and his wife, Rebecca.
Okay.
So Rebecca was having an affair with this
Okay.
former baseball player guy. We're talking in their late 50s.
Oh.
People
okay.
in their late 50s. It's not like young spring chickens. Anyway, they had a boozy lunch,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were racing down the street, her and her lover. And apparently they careened out of control and hit a family that was crossing the street.
Oh,
Killed
no.
2 boys.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
She's charged with second-degree murder.
So you read it. So this happened 3 years ago? Or
Yeah, almost 3 years ago. Well,
That's-
2 and no,
that's
3 years
awful.
ago. It happened 3 years ago.
Okay.
I remember when it happened because it involved a plastic surgeon.
Right.
Well,
But
he's
I didn't know that they were
barely-
actually going to charge her until they looked into the details.
So they just charged her recently?
I think so.
From 3 years ago?
I think she's just going to trial now.
Oh, wow.
That's
Mhm.
terrible.
That's very
Two
sad.
boys, 8 and 11.
Oh.
hmm
That's horrible.
It said that one of the I think the dad was struck and went 254 feet,
How fast were they going?
81 miles an hour.
Yeah, they deserve to be charged.
Yeah. But you know what? I mean, I saw pictures of them going into court, and the husband is standing by his wife, and they're holding hands.
What?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, here's a picture.
what does she know?
Well, there's a picture from 2011. I don't know what they
She
look
knows
like now.
something. She knows something. That's not like a man to stay by a woman who A, cheats, and B, kills 2 people. Yeah, no.
Yeah, well, it's a developing story. It was in the Daily Mail
It's
yesterday.
been developed. She's going to jail, and she knows something about her husband.
I'm going to have to agree with Santino.
Caso cerrado. He dicho.
What does that mean?
Like, it's been decided.
It's been
Case closed.
Case closed. Case closed. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll keep that.
Okay, well,
On our radar.
we'll keep watching that story.
Mhm.
Any isn't Tom supposed to have a trial hearing this week or something?
Oh,
Santino?
yeah. Let me see. No, it's not that
These are my 2 researchers. Guys, you know when we started this podcast, I wasn't even in it.
that's so true.
I wasn't even in the podcast. I was just sitting in the corner watching, and I just was piping in with some details. And then all of a sudden, I'm the one who has to research everything.
I could not imagine this podcast without you.
You know what you got yourself into when you laid in bed with 2 ADHD motherfuckers.
I have ADHD
You make your
too.
bed, you lie in it.
Your ADHD is very functioning.
I have it severely.
Yours
as
is
well.
high functioning.
It is high functioning.
Mine is like debilitating.
Look,
And
squirrel.
anyway, I can't find the specific date, but I know that Tom had a pre-trial conference, I think, coming up on the 23rd or something like that.
So tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow's the 23rd.
Oh wow.
But the thing is, like, these pre-trial conferences,
They get rescheduled a lot.
sometimes, but no, they don't even really get rescheduled. But they're basically like exactly what they sound like, the pre-trial conference. So right before they actually have the trial, they like discuss with the judge, like, what has been accomplished in the case in terms of like discovery and what order they should be on the trial docket or whatever. And then the judge sets them up. So he should be going to trial anytime now. Like usually the pretrial conference is like 1 to 3 weeks from the
so
actual trial.
We're almost there.
Yeah.
So let's
If they're
let's find
ready.
out the date so we can take a field trip and
Well-
go listen in on the trial.
Yeah.
Could we?
Well,
If it's a
you can.
Monday,
Yeah.
it's a
Well,
Monday.
But we have
just
to
fly to Tampa. It's really quick.
The
Yeah.
thing is that these trial dockets. Oh my god, I'm gonna get like sucked.
Wait a
back.
minute. I don't want him to see us.
No, we'll hide in the back.
Behind in the back
Yeah.
with a
with
kind
a
of-
with a costume.
With
Mask.
cameras.
Yeah.
with camera.
Well, Santina, he won't know.
He won't know me.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, they have internet, maybe in jail. Maybe he's seen us, but no. These
I
like
think he's focused on his
Who knows with
avoiding
that
the
guy?
death penalty. I hope.
so once his trials, this like if they go onto this trial docket, like basically there'll be like 10 different cases on the trial docket, and
Yeah.
then you won't like you have to call. They give you a list,
Right.
and you have to call like the judge's assistant to be like, are they still ruling on this trial? And that's how you find out when trials begin. Like
Really?
you don't have like a set date. You have to literally call either like the law firm of the case before you and be like, are you guys still in court?
Oh, I see.
Because a lot of these cases, they like
They don't know how long they're going to take.
no, like they have a set amount of days, but they'll either like take a plea in the middle of the trial,
and then everything moves up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Fair enough.
they'll take a plea right before the trial.
Right.
So then you're like you thought that you were 5, but now you're like 2.
Right.
So we won't know.
Right. Okay.
But we can at least see
we'll
where
keep an
he
eye
gets
on
on the docket.
Rosie, do you have a story for us today?
No, I was waiting for you guys to come up with one.
I have one.
I have no.
Plastic surgeon in Miami.
Murdered by social media assistant in podcast room.
Cases developing as we speak.
So yes, I have a story.
Go ahead.
It happened almost a year ago. I think you brought it up in your news minute.
Okay.
This happened in Mexico in March 2023.
All right.
Latavia McGee
Uh-huh.
from South Carolina. She was going to Matamoros. I don't know. What
The
state is called.
Matamoros in Mexico.
In Mexico, Matamoros, Tamaulipas. That's the state. And Matamoros for a tummy tuck. I don't know the doctor she was going to see. They don't list that anywhere. But this was
Does
her
it matter?
No, she never made it. So she was going to Mexico for a tummy tuck. Her second time. This is her second time going to this doctor.
Oh.
Um,
What'd you have before? Do you know?
No, it didn't say.
Okay.
It said this is her second surgery. She had a great experience and result from the first one, and she decided to go again to Mexico from South Carolina to get a tummy tuck this time. So the medical tourism in Mexico is a big business.
Huge. Billions.
Yeah, a lot of people go to Mexico because they could get cheaper surgery. And I was also reading that because also for a lot of people who like their BMI is too high or they have issues that like U.S. plastic surgeons will not operate on them. The Mexican doctors have less.
They'll take
stringent,
the chance.
They have less stringent requirements, so a lot of people will go there for that too.
Right. It's like $8 billion a year. I
Yeah.
looked it up.
So yeah, a lot of people go to Mexico. It's a really big business, and even after this story, it hasn't gotten that much less. So
This is the one with where the
yes,
gang members.
yes.
Oh, yeah, that's
Latavia,
crazy.
Latavia McGee and her 3 closest friends, well, a cousin and 2 friends. So Zindell Brown, Shaid Woodard, and Eric Williams go with her to have the surgery in Mexico. So the 3 of them drive from South Carolina. They cross the border. You know what else? Before I get to it, they said it's a big business now because of the medical tourism. There's a lot of on the border. There's a lot of recovery houses there now. So there's like these nurses who they go back and forth like 100 times a month to get the patients from Mexico to bring them back to their recovery house on the border in Texas,
In America.
in America.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, her cousin, 2 friends, and her, they get in their car in her white minivan. She crosses the border and she gets lost and loses her cell service. She doesn't know where she is. She's trying to figure out like where the doctor's office is, trying to remember. She's late for her appointment. And then they kind of, I guess, make a turn down the wrong street. And
Wow.
all of a sudden,
That's how it happened?
Yeah, and then they're in a like a neighborhood ruled by a cartel. I don't know which cartel, but one of the cartels, and they all of a sudden they get shot at. Their car gets stopped, and there's bullets flying everywhere. And the Latavia Eric Williams was driving, and he kind of like blocks Latavia from getting shot. The other two get shot and killed.
Oh my
Eric
god.
Williams gets shot in the leg, and then the cartel people just drag them out of the car, put them in their pickup, and start driving.
Well, they went down a wrong street. That's it.
Yeah, they were just lost. They didn't know. She didn't know where she was. She got lost.
But what's the point of that from the
So-
cartel's perspective?
Wow.
It was a mistake. So basically,
Oh,
they think that because she was like a woman driving with three men, that they mistook them for a rival cartel or drug traffickers
Uh-huh.
that were like infringing on their neighborhood.
Right.
So they shot at them, and then they take them to in a pickup truck, and then while they're driving, so there's two friends. So Eric Williams is conscious. He's the one who shot on the legs. The other two are unconscious, shot. So they take them to So while they're driving, she was what's
She
it
was
called?
also shot, you said.
No, she wasn't. She
Really?
wasn't shot.
Oh, because he was blocking.
He
her.
blocked her.
Oh, nice.
That's
But
so
a woman on the street was shot. A Mexican, Areli Pablo Cervalo, 33-year-old Mexican woman on the street where they were was shot also in
Was-
the crossfire.
Was she okay?
No, she was killed.
What?
Yeah, she was killed. So so as the truck was pulling away from the shooting, she's the only one who wasn't injured. So she tried to escape from the pickup truck. She like jumped out of the car and ran towards a fence, but the fence was too high and she couldn't climb over it, and the gate was locked. So the people they beat her, forced her back in the truck. The four Americans were taken somewhere, accosted by more men with guns, and threatened them, and then asked them if they started questioning them, like, who do you work for? What's your drug trade?
In English or like,
And
huh?
one of them, no, I guess in Spanish.
Do they speak Spanish?
One of them spoke Spanish, but he was killed. So I don't know if maybe she knew a little bit of Spanish, or she just said, she said she didn't know what they were talking about. She's here for surgery. So I think that they kind of realized they're like, oh shit,
fuck.
what do we do? And then they looked confused. They took Latavia, Eric, and the two other friends, her cousin and the friend that were unconscious. They took them to a clinic, and so they started to stitch up Eric Williams he was shot on the leg, so they were trying to stitch him up. The other two, they saw that they were just dead. They weren't moving, they were conscious, so the other two were dead.
That's
And they
so
stitched up
sad.
Eric.
It had to have been a mistake.
Yeah, and then they were driven to another after this makeshift clinic. They were driven to this other location in where she also tried to escape again. She was able to grab a phone from one of the guards, and she said she repeatedly called 911, and she didn't want to speak because she thought the cartels listened in.
Is 911 the
I
same
don't
thing in
know.
Mexico, or is
I
it
don't
like
know.
101?
I have
or
no
like
idea.
111 or something?
I don't know.
Okay.
She called the police. She says 911, but I don't
Yeah.
know what she called. She called the police several times, and she said she was afraid to speak. She just like kept dialing and hanging up because she thought maybe the cartel listens into the police phone calls, which is pretty smart to
Yeah.
think of. She's
Yeah.
probably right.
Yeah.
So she just thought if she kept calling and hanging up, that they would the
Right.
police would
But
come.
they didn't know that she had a phone?
No, she stole a phone from somebody. She didn't have
Damn.
her own phone.
Okay.
And then her last attempt to flee, she spotted an empty vehicle outside the place they were being held, and she found the keys inside, and she basically dragged Eric, her friend who was shot on the legs, into a vehicle, and she just started driving, and then she was spotted, and they shot at her again, and they were taken back to the room. So basically they held him in a room, like her, Eric, and with her two dead friends, with the dead bodies.
Crazy.
She's
How many
so-
days was she in captivity?
4 days.
She's so brave.
And then finally the Mexican police
They
arrived.
caught her again after she got into that car?
Yeah.
Why? Like how? She
They-
didn't drive?
She drove, but they were shooting at her.
I mean, the cartel.
Yeah. Plus, she didn't know where she was going, so she was just driving. So they.
Yeah, she could have accidentally driven into
She said it was
the
very.
rival cartel gang,
she said it
and
was-
they shoot her too.
She said it was very rough terrain, and they just started shooting at her. And then the Mexican police arrived,
Oh wow, I'm
and
surprised.
they
I'm
were
literally surprised.
and they brought Latavia, Eric Williams. They were found on March 7th in a wooden shed surrounded by farmland on the edge of Matamoros. And a couple of hours later, the two survivors were in the custody of U.S. officials. And then they also a few days later, they brought the dead bodies of their friends.
Wow.
But
And-
when the police showed up, were the cartel members there?
There was one guy guarding them that they arrested.
Yeah.
And then a couple of days later, just like on the border, they had 5 tied up people from the cartel that the cartel delivered with an apology letter.
Yeah, I knew
Really?
it.
They said that they wrote a letter in Spanish that this was a mistake,
Yeah.
and that they said, we asked the public to be calm. We are committed that the mistakes caused by indiscipline won't be repeated, and that those responsible to pay, no matter who they are. So they basically, the people who fucked up, the cartel gave them over because they fucked up, because they don't really mess with Americans. But then this caused like a whole controversy
Yeah,
in
but
Mexico.
like I said, it's an $8 billion a year business
Yeah.
or whatever for Mexico.
But then this started controversy in Mexico because the Mexicans are like, we get kidnapped all the time in the cartel, and the Mexican police do shit for us.
Yeah.
They were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
They were so like, oh, we have to be American for the Mexican police to care about us?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I was gonna say, I feel like the Mexican, I'm not even sure her calls are the reason the Mexican police came. Like, I bet the cartel were like, we
Yeah.
fucked up. We have these Americans.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it was. They realized that they totally fucked up. They just got innocent Americans who had nothing to do with the drug business.
They were
and-
shitting bricks. You
Yeah.
could tell the moment they took him to go get his leg patched, they knew they fucked up.
yeah.
They're like, oh no.
And then
I have this like Weekend at Bernie's kind of image in my head where they're like putting the guy's head straight, like,
yeah, no,
It's
they're
like,
just like
don't die.
crazy.
Oh my God.
And they said,
That's so terrible. The poor
Oh,
friend.
what a terrible.
you know what's even also crazy? Eric Williams
Yeah.
was there, and his wife had no idea he was going.
Okay, that's like a separate.
No, she
that's
said.
such
So
like
it says.
separate
It says McGee's mother, Latavia's mother, said that
How
her
are they?
daughter.
How do they know each other?
So they're just all friends, apparently really close friends with South Carolina. She brought her cousin Shahid, and I think these were his 2 friends or so. I don't know. It's a little sketch.
That's a road trip.
So
How old are they?
No, they must
30
be
something.
older. She's
30s?
getting a tummy
I
tuck.
think she's 30. She's 34. So Zindell Brown was 28.
Yeah.
Woodard was 33. McGee was 34, and Mr. Williams was 38. Eric Williams. So it says McGee's mother said after her daughter's rescue said that there is a God, and that her daughter was devastated of seeing 2 people she loved as they died in front of her. And then
That's terrible.
Williams' wife Michelle said she had no idea her husband was going to Mexico, but told the South Carolina news outlet that she had an overwhelming sense of relief that he was expected to make a full recovery after undergoing surgery for bullet wounds to his legs.
Wow.
And then Zindell Brown, which is one of the friends that died, his sister said that her brother didn't even want to go. He was like,
man.
he went reluctantly after repeatedly warning them against the trip. So sad. Yeah.
Oh.
So I mean, this was
So what's the lesson here?
I don't know what the
There's
lesson
not always
is.
a lesson.
It's just a terrible, like, crazy story about just people going on a road trip to Mexico to get surgery. And it wasn't even like it was her second time going. It wasn't like like she knew she already had an experience there that went well, and then she went there. She said she's never gonna be okay.
No.
This is
Yeah,
like,
you
she's
watched 2 people
she's
die.
traumatized for life.
She's got PTSD.
Yeah, 2 people died, and not that you're the reason, but like they're here for you, like for your surgery.
Right. They were doing you a favor.
Yeah.
Keeping you company.
It brought up a lot of like controversy in the U.S. to there's a whole thing going on about having treating the cartels as terrorists and having the military involved to go and fight them and everything. So
well, one of
that
these
kinda brought that up
one of these
again, too.
countries in South America, I think it's El Salvador. Didn't they just was it El Salvador that they just? I'm asking you like you know that they just
I
like
can look it up.
they basically declared war on their gangs, on the MS-13 or whatever, and they arrested 60,000 gang members, and they keep them in this giant super prison, and they just built a bigger super prison, and the the murder rate dropped down to below the murder rate in the United States. It was the deadliest country in the world, like per capita murder.
Oh wow.
And in 1 year, it's now like one of the lowest in the Western
Well, yeah,
Hemisphere.
there are some people in the U.S. who want to treat the cartels as like a terrorist enemy and
I feel like
use the military against them.
yeah, that because that's worked so well in every other country that
It did. It worked in El Salvador.
Did it work in?
I think it's El Salvador.
Did it work in Afghanistan?
Let me see.
Well, that was a different war.
But I'm saying, like, can we just leave them alone? Like, let them deal with their own
Well,
cartel.
it's the problem is that the
But-
cartel brings a lot of drugs into America, and the overdose rate in America, the deaths from overdose is crazy high. Like a lot of people.
100,000.
You know who I bet they're working with? Americans. Like,
Of course.
but I'm saying, like, arrest those people. You arrest their connections.
Here it says right here. Opinion. This Washington Post. Lesson from El Salvador. People prefer safe streets to human rights. And yeah, they've incarcerated. Here, the country with the highest murder rate now has the highest incarceration rate, and they're safe. El Salvador claims 0 murders committed for a year after gang crackdown.
Yeah, it's convenient of
But
their
you should
government to
see how
say
they
that.
keep these. You see how they keep these gang members though. It's like that.
Yeah,
Holy
not
shit.
great.
There's thousands
That's
of them.
terrible.
Thousands of them.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah. And they built this huge mega prison, like state of the art, to house the gang members in there.
How did they not? They didn't fight back because the gangs have like
They did. They came
have
with-
like
they came with-
military weapons.
They came
too.
with the whole army. They can't fight tanks, and
I feel like the Mexican cartels can.
they might, but you just bring more. I mean, El Salvador's a small. They had to arrest like 60,000 people, so they brought like, the
Well-
full weight of the army
Yeah.
and government and the police and
Well, that- I don't-
everything on this gang.
I don't think that would work in Mexico because the Mexican government is.
I'm sure the the Salvadorian government is also corrupt. Because all those, like, the death rate dropping, where are they getting those stats? From the government that benefits from saying that?
No, but I'm not saying.
I don't know.
The Mexican government.
I've
not
never
just-
been to El Salvador. I'm just
I'm saying
telling you what I
it's
read
like a
here.
huge part of their economy. It's not just like
Oh, you mean the drug trafficking?
yeah, like
Yeah.
if they got rid of it.
Well, they also didn't mean to do this. Like, this was obviously a fuck up.
Yeah, no, it was.
This was like a...
Yes, they wrote a letter of apology.
And they surrendered people.
They did. They gave up the people who fucked up.
They're like, we really... I mean, it's a terrible, terrible situation.
Yeah.
I
Well-
think probably the lesson is...
Well, be careful when you
Just be
go
careful.
to, especially Matamoros. I think is listed on one of the like places that
Yeah.
there's heavy cartel activity.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, this is what I always hear is, like, if you're gonna go get plastic surgery in a different country, you need to be with someone who's from that country, or like not just from that country, but like from that specific area.
So you know
Not
what,
just
to,
because-
what to avoid.
Not just terrain wise, because you know what streets to go down and what streets not to go down, but it's also like, if someone's from that area, then they know like what surgeons are good, like
Right.
what places are legit, like what prices sound correct. You know, like they can
Yeah.
understand like
agree.
the schemy ways.
I agree.
Just totally apart from going down the wrong street. Like in general, if you're gonna go to a country that you don't know and you don't speak the language, you need to have like a guide.
or the neighborhoods
Yeah.
or the cartel
That's what
lay
I'm
of the
saying. Like,
land.
even like boil it down to like Miami. Like when people come here and they're like walking, like they stay, let's say Midtown or something, and they just start going like way too west. I'm like, you don't know where you're going. Or like if they stay in downtown, you keep going and you're like
Well,
in
since-
Overtown.
since-
Are you,
Tina
are, you
had
sa- are you saying the prostitute hotels on Biscayne Boulevard are not good places to stay when you come?
Well, I'm
downtown?
saying like they don't know, like, cause like Miami's being gentrified. So like one street is like the hottest street in the world right now. Like there's a club, and the next street is Overtown.
it's like Sinbad Motel.
Like
There's
Well,
literally a
Santina-
motel called
Santina-
Sinbad.
Santina had an idea to make an app like safe to walk. Like,
yeah,
so you know, like
I had a
as
lot of liability there.
yeah.
there's a lot of liability in general in that whole app. But like, I feel like it should be like, do you know Waze, the
Yes.
app? Like it tells you like, oh, cop coming up.
Right. It
And
should be like, oh, mugger,
No, it should be like,
random cartel gang shooting.
no, it should be
Here.
like, I've lived in Miami for 25 years. I personally wouldn't walk down that street from hours, blah, 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 blah.
It's a good idea.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I wouldn't go down there, and I'm from here.
It's a good idea. Plus, another thing I learned from this story is I old school MapQuest out the directions, printed
In case you lose service.
in case you lose service.
Do you
That
do
happened
that?
to me.
No, I
once.
don't, but it's a good idea.
Yeah.
That happened to me once when I was in Tallahassee, and bro, that North Florida, like in those like that Florida Georgia line, there's these people that live on like acres of land,
Oh yeah,
and there's no lights, there's no street lights, like their property is like miles and miles long, like they're
yeah. No one will ever find you. You'll be buried in a drum,
And
in
when
like
they-
one of those 60-gallon drums.
and those people,
Done.
when they see your car that they've never seen in their whole fucking life,
Yeah.
be scared. And that happened to me and my dad. We were driving down this like dirt road. I got lost, whatever. It was nighttime. There was literally no lights, and my dad was free, and like we had no signal. And my dad was like, "Dina, I cannot believe it. You have to take the highway. Why are we taking the back street?" Like he was getting crazy, and I was like, "I know." I was like shitting my pants.
Yeah.
Cause those are the motherfuckers that are like, "Don't tread on me."
You mean they shoot first and ask questions later?
Yeah, like or what?
Like the cartel.
What's that law in Florida? Like, you stand your ground.
Stand my ground. Yeah.
Or they use any chance to use that fucking law. I'm like, I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl in the world. My map's
Yes.
not working.
All right,
See,
guys.
that's why you should
You
carry,
should-
you should
you should-
carry with you just a small American flag. You can just put on the top of your car.
For
I
those-
come in peace.
Or
I'm just. I need to get.
don't tread on me flag.
I need to get a no. I need to get a megaphone that's just like, I'm just lost.
Yes. Don't shoot.
You know,
I'm just lost. Don't shoot.
there's been a couple of cases in the last couple of years where people got shot just pulling into the wrong driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
People are a little bit overzealous, standing their ground.
All right. Well, there you have it. This is this week's episode of Crime and Plastic. Be careful where you travel.
Always take a local.
Take a local. All right. Have a great day. Bye.
Great week.